Hello everybody. Now it's time for a restoration video. This is not an ordinary restoration video. I do apologize if I don't in the center of this picture because I hold the camera in my hand and I have flipped the camera, backside camera on the phone so I can see the display. So I don't know what I'm filming right now. But I hope I'm in the picture at least. We're gonna do a restoration of the giveaway razor that Scott Owl had given to Johan Granath, the Shave&Butcher, the raffle of Parkinson's. I just received it today, and it's this razor. Just gonna flip the camera right now so we can look at the things I'm gonna do with the razor and see if we can get this razor in a better shape than it is right now. Sorry about my mumbling as usual, you know. Yes, there's the razor. Try to use the light from the window here. As you can see, ground in Germany. There is no big issues on the edge. There, of course, the edge is dull, like hell. There is nothing. There it says LKP, and it's not in the best condition. It's not a really bad condition, but it's not on the best condition. So I thought I could do so that I'm gonna unpin this, and then I'm gonna use this machine here that's gonna polish the egg razor a bit. I'm not gonna take on the blade. It's a thin blade. I think I managed to polish that up by the compound I'm gonna use. But I'm gonna, this part here on the back of the razor and so on. So I'm gonna use this. So I'm gonna get it cleaner here in the pin because it's always difficult to get really clean here. It's very difficult if you don't unpin it first, and then I can clean the razor with scales in the inside too a little bit better. It's much easier. So I'm gonna unpin this, polish it with that wheel first, and then I have a Dremel here already prepared with a small grinding ball, so I can grind away the head of the pin, and then I can use the hammers and use this small stand here so I can take out the pin. There is more pinning materials here. This is a compound I'm using from Sweden. It's called Autosol. You can see it there, Autosol. Chrome glands. So it's a compound used for polishing chromes. I use this compound when I polish my razors. Works for me. And I'm using this Dremel with different kind of wheels, so I can use compound on someone and polish on someone, and some small hammers and rags and so on. So I hope this razor is gonna be great when I'm finished. Sorry about this flipping around with this camera. So I'm gonna do some filming, and then I'm gonna try to get as much as possible in this video, but we shall see how much I can film. So let's start the restoration. Hello, I'm here back again. As you saw, I have repinned this, not repinned, I have took away the scholars and put out the pin, and then I polish it up a little bit or grind it a little bit with that wheel. It's a very abrasive wheel, so I have to be very gentle, as you saw. So now I'm starting to polish the blade, and starting with this compound on the thin side of this blade. This blade is so thin, so I don't want to use this Dremel so much on the. Maybe I should use this and have that cloth over there so it's easier maybe you see. And I don't want to use the Dremel on the blade, the thin part here. I'm afraid I would. You're not in the center there. I'm afraid I would damage the hardening and damage the edge, so I very careful. As you saw when I polished with the wheel, I didn't took anything on the blade. I'm afraid to use it on the blade. As you can see, it's very much dirt here. I'm using the compound over the whole blade on the edge too, because it have to be cleaned everywhere. So this edge is really dull. Not only at this moment, it has been dull all the time. When you do this by hand, you have to work. Much easier to have a machine, but if you use a machine, then there is a risk that you overheat the blade and you damage the hardening and you get the blade that doesn't work. But as you see, a little bit of polishing grinding here. Take a clean cloth here. You can actually see it's getting much better here. This thin part here on the blade, I'm using, as I told you, with my hands. If you compare that side, that's not so bad, but you get much better shine here. On the spine here and the tongue here and everything, I'm gonna do with the Dremel. It goes a little bit faster, but I think I'm gonna do one more with that polish. The edge is not okay right now. I'm going to show you this, how thin this blade is. If you use a thumbnail or a nail and push it on the blade, you can actually flex the blade. It's really thin, so you have to be careful. Every time I restore razors, I always afraid that I'm going to crack the blade or I will destroy the hardening on it, so the blade is getting too hot. That's the reason why I do this polishing thing by hand. Just gonna flip this little rag around to get better surface to polish with. This is just work with the hands, polish and grind. As you saw, I don't use any sandpaper on this one because that wheel I'm using is really abrasive. If you take too hard, you're actually gonna take away metal. I don't know if you can see this blade. It's difficult to show you, but it's actually flexing under my thumbnail here. It's really thin, as you can hear. I'm gonna flip it and take the other side. And this is not maybe fun to look at, so I'm probably gonna fast forward this a little bit. The same procedure here. So let's forward a little bit. Yeah, as you can see, hopefully I can, sorry, Now we can see it's better shine to it than it has before. So this blade, maybe I'm gonna take one more round with this compound. We shall see. Now I'm gonna start the Dremel and take the back side on the spine here and on the whatever you call this. I always forget what this part calls, but this is a tang at least. And we shall see how it looks when I'm finished with the Dremel. So I'm gonna use the Dremel and on a low speed, and we shall see how it looks when I'm finished with the Dremel. Just start it and we shall see you in a while. As you can see, taking all over the place here with the Dremel compound. It's not hot, but it's not getting hotter. So just blowing on it and don't use Dremel anymore, because I'm really afraid that I'm gonna damage the blade. So at this point, it's getting better and better, this blade. Still a little bit dirty. Looks better, at least in my opinion. Much cleaner. I'm gonna clean my hands, and then I'm gonna polish it a little bit more by hand, and then clean it with a clean rag and so on, and I'll be back in a couple of seconds. Yeah, we're back again. Just gonna show you how this is not best way maybe, but I try to get these shims, I think it's called, with a toothpick, and try to get these cleaner, these grooves. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because I get some compound here from the machine. This is the way one way I can do it. Not always the best, but sometimes it works. Otherwise, it's actually really difficult to get away this dirt from here. I can use a rag and try to polish and so on, but sometimes it's actually really hard to get it clean. So I sometimes use a toothpick, and that's the way I can get it clean. And of course, the hole here is dirty, and you can take this dirty rag here. As you can see, it's filthy in here because of all the compounds. The thing I do, I use now it's clean, throw away that. I use a cleaner and cleaner and cleaner rag. So I use fine cloth rag at the end, so there is every dirt I got on my fingers gonna get on the blade. So I have to get the cleaner rag, and I think this is enough polishing on the blade, in my opinion at least. You could use some other compounds, of course, and polish it even more, but if you compare this to the first images you saw, this is much better in my opinion. So I think at this point this blade is cleaned, polished, and ready to get a new edge. But before we're gonna get that edge done, gonna put away this blade. And we have this scholar that doesn't look so pretty. I take a bit of this cloth as I use, and I use the same compound. It works actually for plastic scholars and so on. Take a bit of that compound and just add a little bit. Don't work it too much, just a little bit. I'm actually gonna do that. No, I'm gonna take that old rag here. Sorry, I'm not focused 100% here. Just a little bit compound and just easily polish it and see. And 9 or 10 times you can see the dirt is losing from the scholars. So a little bit more compound and just work it a little bit. After a while this compound polishes, grinds away this dirt. As you can see, it's getting dirtier and dirtier, this rag, and the scales getting cleaner and cleaner. So far I haven't had no issues to doing this. Depending what kind of compound you use, you maybe can't use it on these plastic scholars, but if you compare this shine to this shine, I think it's a little bit better at least. And there is some small scratches on them. If there is very small scratches, I can polish them away. I'm going to take a little bit more here and here on the pin, and then I'm going to take in the inside too. So I'm going to work with this a little bit. You can look at it. I'm going to fast forward it. There is some numbers here, I can't read it. It says something. I think it's 6 to 8 maybe. And maybe 6 to 8 on both of them, I don't know. Maybe it's the number too, so you can match these scholars. When they do the scholars, they maybe use it some matching, so there is right scholars that are equal size and so on. As you can see, everything is getting dirty here, really dirty. I'm gonna throw these away. I'm gonna polish this a little bit. And then I'm going to clean my hands, wash my hands, so they are clean, so I can work with it a little better. And when I'm back on the next clip, I'm going to show you how I do when I pin this razor with this color with this razor. So I'll be back in a couple of seconds. Hello, time to do this pinning thing. I use 2 different types of hammers. One flat hammer, I don't use this size, it's for nails, and a ball pin hammer. So I use these 2 types of hammers. I'll tell you why. This is for pinning, this is for pinning sometimes, and this is for one more thing. When I smash out that brass washer here, I'm going to show you these small things, if you can see it. We have 2 brass washers that are going to go inside on the blade and the scholar, and these 2 washers is on the outside of the scale. So I'm going to put these 2 small things right there. Take these 2 washers, take the first one and just do a couple of hits with the hammer just to flatten them out a little bit, not much, but just a little bit. In my opinion, I think they are too big, thick. Then I'm checking sorry, if I'm mumbling again. So the pin goes right through, and it works. I'm gonna put them there for so long. And then the idea is to do this fiddly thing here. To get this pin inside, I'm checking so the pin, if it doesn't go all the way in, I have to drill this out. I have forgot where I have the drill bit. It's here. I'm gonna take this. Sorry about this. Should have checked this before I started. Then I'm gonna use this Dremel to drill it up a little bit. It's a quick work, but it always takes some time. No, I can't do it. I'll be back just a moment. Sorry. Okay, I'm back again. Using this Black & Decker with a really small drill bit, and try to find a hole here. And as you saw, I wiggled it a little bit because the drill bit is actually too small. But I have to check so I can get this almost. So I can get this pin through the hole like that. This side I can't do it, so I have to drill that a little bit. And now you can see it's much easier to get that through. I'm gonna put away this and try to pin this razor. Now it's jammed. So now it's open. Yeah, now the tricky part starts. I'm gonna try to first put this pin through this side and put a washer here like that, using that pin there so I can put the hole, sorry, so I can put the pin in. And then the blade should be in this way so I can close it. So I put the blade in like that, just so it's on the place. Take the second washer, brass washer, put like that. Then move this a little bit like so, and then try to flip this over without cracking it, and then like that. So now it is the pin, the washers, and the razor is in there. And of course there's a lot of things you can use right now. You can take some rubber bands I put over here and clamp that like that. There is a lot of things you can do, but I don't use anything. I use my fingers. Take this little small washers, and have to be on the right side, and then try to put it over this side here, and then put it on the small hole here. Drill that hole so it works. As you saw when I took out the pin, this hole is perfect. This hole is too big, because then the washer and everything goes away, and there's a risk that you damage the scholars. But this is much smaller, so only the pin goes in and the washers actually stays outside. So it's a perfect hole to use. So now I have flip it like this. I don't have the whole razor on the stand. Sorry, because I try to go as low as possible here. As you can see, there is left so much in the bottom. Doesn't matter. I'm going to flip it like this. Take a plier, and I hope this plier works. I have actually not used this before. Like that. And now it sticks up a little bit, and that's very sharp, that one. So I take the Dremel. Yes, it was plugged, sorry. And every time you use a Dremel on these are plastic scales, don't overheat the pin or whatever you. Yeah, don't overheat the pin. Overheat the pin, so it melts the plastic. Be careful. And now I'm taking this ball peen hammer and just gently tap. Try to mushroom this up a little bit. As you can hear, let's see, small taps. Circle a little bit. And now I mushroom it up a little bit so it stays here and the pin is on the place. Flip it like that. I'm just gonna almost drop the pin. Take the other washer, and put it on the right side, over this side of the hole. And I still have this razor clamped in my fingers, and push it a little bit down to the stand here. Take the plier. This I'm gonna use for other razors in the future. The only thing that is left is this part that I'm throwing, and that's not much, so I don't have so much to throw. And then take the Dremel with a grinding wheel or whatever you want to use, and take away that sharp point. Maybe I'm gonna take a little bit more here. And every time you use a power tool, like Dremel or whatever you want with razors, I at least try to have some support with my thumb or with fingers or knuckles or something, so I have to steady, so I don't use it in the air. Then it's gonna wobble and risking to damage the scholars. I have damaged some scholars actually that way. So now take the ball peen hammer and start to tap on this side. And as you can see, I move the razor a little bit and try to tap all around. Don't use much force right now and jam the fucking pin, then the pin's gonna be crooked and you're gonna have other issues. Flip it, mushroom this side. You can try and see. At the moment it closes up, but it's doesn't hold so good, so I have to just tap it a little bit more. Little bit tighter right now, and open it max. I flip it all around like this, and I tap it on the both sides so it aligns straight. As you can see, hopefully you can see it, it lines actually perfect, dead center right now. So if you just mushroom it on one side, there is a possibility risk that you flip the razor, or the razor is going to be crooked. But if you get it really crooked, it's not a big issue with the plastic scales to actually heat it with a blow gun, and you can pull it on the right side so you got it equal. It looks like it's almost 100%, so 95% straight, sorry. And I open, close it a couple of times. These washers and the plastic scales and everything have to get on the right place. It's straight enough, in my opinion, at least. Just a little bit more. And if you should pin it too much, so it's too hard, just drop one drop of oil there and one drop of oil there, and it's going to be better. There is a risk that after a while I'm using this, or the person is using it, it could be that it's getting more flimsier. Then take a ball peen hammer and smack it around with a little bit, small taps, and it will work again. As you can see, the razor is now pinned, and ground in Germany is easier to read, and LKB is much easier to see. Looks prettier in my opinion. Of course, there are a lot of fingerprints on this razor right now, but it looks like this at the moment. Now I'm going to clean up here, take out my stones, and then I'm going to hone this bad boy up, and we hope that the edge will be great. So far restoration is completed. Now it's only the honing thing left.